The ballroom fell silent as Eliza rose from her seat, her once tattered dress now elegantly flowing around her. No one knew that just 3 weeks ago, she had been sleeping under a bridge. As she took the microphone, her eyes met mine across the room, a silent acknowledgement passing between us. My ex-wife Jessica stood frozen beside her new husband, both watching in stunned silence as this woman, whom I'd invited on a desperate whim, began to sing. The hauntingly beautiful melody that poured from her lips brought tears to every eye in the room. In that moment, I knew our unlikely journey had changed more than just our lives. If you've ever believed in second chances or the power of human connection, this story will touch your heart. Hit that like button and subscribe now to hear more real stories that remind us of the extraordinary moments that can emerge from life's unexpected turns. My name is Mark Collins. 6 months ago, I was just a struggling single dad to my 10-year-old daughter Emma, still bitter about my divorce and dreading the invitation that had arrived in the mail, my ex-wife's wedding. The thought of watching Jessica marry the man she'd left me for made my stomach churn, but I knew I needed to be there for Emma, who was serving as a junior bridesmaid. My routine had become predictably mundane: drop Emma at school, work my shift at the local hardware store, pick her up, make dinner, help with homework, repeat. But on a particularly cold Tuesday in November, that routine shattered when I spotted a woman huddled in the doorway of an abandoned storefront near Emma's school. Something about her, perhaps the way she clutched a tattered book even as she shivered, made me stop. "Are you okay?" I asked, instantly feeling foolish. Of course she wasn't okay. She looked up, and I was struck by the clarity in her eyes, bright blue and intelligent, at odds with her disheveled appearance. "I'm fine," she said with surprising dignity. "Just waiting for the library to open." I hesitated, then offered to buy her coffee. To my surprise, she accepted. That coffee became a conversation that lasted 2 hours, during which I learned her name was Eliza Montgomery, once a music teacher who'd lost everything after a series of devastating events: illness, medical bills, job loss, and finally, homelessness. "The hardest part," she told me, stirring her third cup of coffee, "isn't the cold or the hunger. It's becoming invisible. People look through you, not at you." I couldn't stop thinking about Eliza in the days that followed. Emma and I began bringing her meals, then books, then warm clothes as winter deepened. She never asked for anything but always expressed genuine gratitude for everything. What surprised me most was her optimism. Despite everything, she maintained a quiet hope that things would improve. When Emma mentioned Eliza to Jessica during their weekend visit, my ex-wife was immediately suspicious. "You're letting a strange homeless woman spend time with our daughter," she demanded over the phone. "What are you thinking, Mark?" "I'm thinking about teaching our daughter compassion," I replied, surprising myself with my conviction. "Eliza isn't dangerous. She's just someone who had terrible luck." 3 weeks before the wedding, Emma made an unexpected suggestion during dinner. "Dad, you should take Miss Eliza to Mom's wedding." I nearly choked on my spaghetti. "Emma, that's not how it works. I can't just bring a stranger to your mom's wedding." "Why not?" "The invitation says, Mark Collins and guest. Miss Eliza could be your guest. And you said you were dreading going alone." Her 10-year-old logic was surprisingly sound. The idea was absurd, yet it took root. When I hesitantly mentioned it to Eliza during our next coffee meeting, I expected her to laugh or be offended. Instead, she grew quiet, considering. "It's been so long since I've been to a celebration of any kind," she finally said. "But I don't have anything appropriate to wear, and I wouldn't want to embarrass you." That's how Emma and I found ourselves taking Eliza shopping the following weekend. We found a modest second-hand dress that, with minor alterations, looked remarkably elegant. Emma insisted on helping Eliza practice proper table manners and dancing, turning our living room into a makeshift ballroom each evening. During these sessions, I learned more about Eliza's past. She'd been a promising vocal performance major before switching to music education, had taught at an inner-city school for 8 years, and had been engaged before her fiancé left during her medical crisis. "Life rarely turns out as planned," she said one evening, after Emma had gone to bed. "But sometimes the unexpected path leads somewhere important." As the wedding approached, my anxiety grew. Jessica was furious when I confirmed I was bringing a guest but couldn't argue with the invitation's wording. Emma was delighted but sworn to secrecy about Eliza's background. And Eliza herself seemed to transform, standing straighter, speaking more confidently, as if remembering who she had been before circumstance had stripped away her identity. The day of the wedding arrived with perfect spring weather. When I picked up Eliza from the women's shelter where she'd been staying temporarily, I hardly recognized her. She'd managed to style her hair elegantly, and the dress we'd found highlighted a grace I hadn't fully appreciated before. "You look beautiful," I said, meaning it. "Thank you for this," she replied simply. "For seeing me when no one else did." The ceremony was predictably emotional, with Emma proudly performing her junior bridesmaid duties. Jessica looked radiant, and despite our history, I found myself genuinely happy for her. During the reception, I introduced Eliza simply as "my friend," noticing the curious glances but ignoring the whispers. Everything changed during the dinner when the wedding singer announced he was having vocal problems and asked if anyone could fill in for a few numbers. After an awkward silence, Eliza slowly raised her hand. "I used to sing," she said quietly. What happened next became the defining moment of the evening. Eliza took the microphone and, after a brief word with the band, began to sing "At Last" by Etta James. Her voice, rich, soulful, and trained, filled the room. People stopped eating, conversations halted mid-sentence, and all eyes turned to this mysterious woman no one knew. Jessica's new husband requested she sing for their first dance, and Eliza delivered a rendition of "The Way You Look Tonight" that left not a dry eye in the house. By the end of the evening, guests were requesting songs, and Eliza obliged with everything from classic ballads to contemporary hits, each performed with remarkable skill and emotion. During a break, Jessica approached us, her expression a mix of confusion and admiration. "Your friend is incredible," she said. "Where did you find her?" The truth hovered on my lips, but Eliza answered first. "Mark found me when I needed to be found," she said simply. "He has a gift for seeing people's value." The look Jessica gave me then, a look of new respect and perhaps regret, was something I'd never expected to see again. As the evening wound down, the wedding coordinator approached Eliza with business cards from 3 guests. One owned a music studio, another managed a restaurant with live music, and the third directed a community arts program. Opportunities, appearing like magic from an evening that had started as merely a gesture of kindness. Driving home, with Emma asleep in the back seat, Eliza turned to me. "Thank you," she whispered. "Not just for tonight, but for treating me like a person when the rest of the world had stopped seeing me." "You did all the hard work," I replied. "I just provided the opportunity." She shook her head. "Sometimes opportunity is everything." In the months that followed, everything changed. Eliza secured a position teaching music at the Community Arts Center and found stable housing. Emma and I still saw her regularly for dinner or coffee. Jessica and I found a new respect in our co-parenting relationship, largely inspired by Eliza's gracious presence that night. 6 months after the wedding, as we celebrated Eliza's new apartment with a small housewarming party, she revealed something I hadn't known. "The night you first offered me coffee," she said quietly, "I had decided it would be my last day. I couldn't see any way forward." Her eyes met mine, filled with emotion. "You didn't just buy me coffee that day, Mark. You gave me a reason to try one more time." Life's most profound connections often come when we least expect them, from people we might easily have walked past. My act of simple kindness didn't just change Eliza's life, it transformed mine, teaching Emma and me that sometimes the most valuable gift we can offer another human being is to truly see them. Everyone deserves to be seen, to be valued, to be given a chance to shine. Sometimes all it takes is one person willing to look beyond circumstances to the human being underneath. In Eliza's words, sometimes opportunity is everything. And sometimes, a single kind gesture can change multiple lives forever.